So working together around the customer, for me, is just obvious. But in reality, it's not the case in a lot of companies. It's the same funnel. You're working as a company on the same funnel. Growth, for example, is about working together. You cannot realize growth only as a sales team or only as a marketing team.
Welcome to the Revenue Discussion Podcast. This podcast aims to inspire and educate the newest generation of revenue leaders on various subjects related to sales, marketing, revenue operations, and customer success. Every week, we invite an inspirational guest to the show that is willing to share his or her insight, strategies, and tactics that has worked or still working for him or her. Today, we invited Kurt Ghijsbrecht to the show. Kurt has more than 25 years of experience in revenue-generating activities, and recently, he took the jump to co-found Marquis, a commercial services agency to help companies level up their game. And what I personally like about Marquis is that Kurt has been a sales director for many years, and his co-founder has been a CMO for many years. So, because of that, Marquis don't look it from one lens or the other. From the start, they align marketing and sales, and you will see that this is a topic that Kurt liked to talk about. Enjoy this episode. Good afternoon, Kurt, and thank you for making time for the show. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you very much. Hi, Dylan. Hi, Martin.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
All right, Kurt, I am aware that you are the co-founder and CEO of Marquis, but could you please tell the audience what exactly it is what you do?
We founded Marquis 6 months ago, and with the aim of helping companies grow and even accelerate their existing growth. So that is the aim, focusing on one specific element in the beginning, and that is the fact that we are convinced that people active in the SME world in Belgium have talents, have a lot of experience, etc. So the idea and the challenge is to use the talents, to use the experience, and then to move forward and to realize growth. That's the idea of Marquis.
All right. So mostly focused on SMEs.
Mostly focused on SMEs, but if tomorrow a big corporate wants to know more about Marquis and doing business with us, why not?
Yeah, I'm just asking because I can imagine that the way of working, with an SME versus a big corporate enterprise, multinational, whatever, it kind of is different, I suppose. No, especially in terms of marketing and sales.
Yeah, absolutely. I think corporates today, they are organized, well or not well, but they are organized. They have a hierarchy of people, sales director level, marketing director level, etc. This is not always the case in an SME. In an SME, it's often the owner who is managing, for example, sales, and being helped by somebody, sometimes even externally, to do some marketing. So I think from an organization point of view, it's a complete different ballgame, corporate world and SME world. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And do you feel that the alignment of marketing and sales is less good, I would say, in SMEs than in big corporates?
I don't think that there is a difference between SMEs and corporates on sales and marketing alignment. I think for me, it's a kind of state of mind. Everything what is linked to alignment, because basically the objectives are the same. For example, if your objective of a company, whether it be an SME or a corporate, is growth, then the objective is basically at the end, bottom line. It's the same. It's realizing more business than you do today.
But it's not a natural thing for them to have the same goals or same KPIs in mind and work towards that. Of course, at the high level, they have the same ambition, but the way it's extrapolated towards the external world, it's not always.
Yeah, I think you have a point. And probably there are different things and different reasons why today it is, for me, it's a perception in the first place. Because looking from the perspective of a consumer, of a potential customer, what he or she wants is alignment. He wants a perfect experience throughout the whole buyer journey or customer journey. That's what a customer today wants. So when they look to a company, they look it in that way. please provide me in my buying process the same experience as is my customer process, for example. So it's a little bit weird today that still a lot of companies from the other way around, if you look to the other way around of the issue, that they say, but we are not working together. Huh? Sorry, marketing and sales, there is marketing and there is sales, and we have our own objectives. That's weird today, especially taking into account that the last 24 months, we as consumers, our standards, they went up. We want more companies to be aligned with what we see as buying and a customer process. So working together around the customer, for me, is just obvious, but in reality, it's not the case.
Because what is the actual problem actually for the customer from the buyer point of view? What is the problem when marketing and sales are not aligned?
Just let's give an example on buyer journey level. You are a potential customer. Marketing is trying to do something special to, for example, get you in the buyer journey. If sales is not aware of what marketing is doing, you have an issue. If, for example, sales is expecting leads and there is no alignment on what is the definition of a sales qualified lead, you have an issue. So, and this is more and more customers are feeling that. When is the exact moment that I will be contacted by sales, for example? If there is no alignment, customers will feel that there is a little problem. And this is just an example. The same with customer retention, for example. When you see that there is alignment on buyer journey level, it's not always the case on customer journey level. Just to give another example for that one of the main focuses of a lot of companies just after the very beginning of the pandemic was retention. We need to retain our customers because that's let me call it this way, quite easy instead of immediately focusing on acquiring new customers. But then again, no alignment. How are we going to do that? What is the kind of content that we need to share, for example, to keep our customers? What is the role of sales? What is the role of marketing? What is the role of customer service? So again, alignment is crucial because basically in the end, it's the same funnel. You're working as a company on the same funnel, whether it be the buyer funnel or the customer who is trying to do some upsell or cross-sell.
Some call it the marketing funnel, some others call it the sales funnel, but in the end, it's the exact same funnel we're talking about.
Yeah, it's the same.
I want to come back later on the retention aspect, the retention story that you just told us. But before doing that, the sales and marketing alignment, how do you then go with your client and see how you can actually optimize the alignment? Is it more about the organizational structure, the way they report within the company, the processes? What do you look at when you want to optimize that?
In the first place, I look at people, or we look at people, because it begins at the top. It begins at, imagine that there is a marketing and a sales director or a marketing manager, a sales manager, whatever. Are they aligned? Do they, between brackets, like each other? Do they have the same objectives? What is the role of the CEO or the owner linked to the role of marketing and sales? When I started
clear
working
definition
at
of
Sodexo,
responsibilities and...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
When I started working at Sodexo, it was end 2017. In the recruitment process, I was recruited to be the future sales director. There was already a marketing director in place. The marketing director had a kind of veto saying, if we are not aligned, if I feel there is no magic, no chemistry between us, it will be difficult to really work together. So she or he had a veto at that moment. And in the beginning, you say, this is strange. But afterwards, I said, but this is amazing. Because there you already set the standard. What we want to do here is align marketing and sales, because that's the force that we will put also on the market to acquire customers, to retain customers, and to do upselling and cross-selling.
And was that something that came out of the company itself, that they wanted to have the alignment, or was it more the personal manager that said, I need this?
It was the CEO at that moment that took that decision, but I think it was a very wise one.
And was that for you the moment that you saw also the importance of marketing alignment, marketing and sales alignment?
Not at that moment, but where we started working together afterwards, and we saw the difference, for example, after 6 months, after 1 year, on results, on the way our teams were working together. Then I said, but this is just fantastic. What is happening? And again, it starts with the top. Huh? It starts with you, with me. Are we aligned? Are we saying the same? Are we thinking the same, etc.? Are we acting towards our team in the same manner?
Yeah, and I think communication within the team. I mean, the internal communication in there is important. Is key to have a good idea from both sides of what is being expected from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have probably today more examples of marketing and sales teams arguing than teams that are aligned.
Than our alliance.
And basically it's maybe more funny to discuss people that argue with each other than to discuss people that have success because they work together. But maybe that's linked to the human being. Eh? We like to see the negative side of things instead of looking at the positive side of things.
But what is then the actual problem, do you think? Is it also some kind of ego that's in the way?
Absolutely. And I think probably it's a kind of historical evolution. Who was the king? Who has been the king or the queen in the company for years? It was always sales.
I would say so.
10, 20 years ago, it was sales. There was only one voice that really had some interesting feedback from the market. That was sales. Maybe customer service, but in the very beginning, it was sales. So maybe we had a kind of status, I don't know, where that gave us a kind of power in the company towards other departments, towards customer service, towards marketing, etc. Maybe there is some, I don't know, ground where things start getting wrong.
And
yeah,
I'll say, Jack, just and to solve then this ego problem between the marketing and sales, how would you then concretely like attack that? How would you be able to solve this ego problem and make them work together?
A very interesting exercise, what always works, is doing the mapping of the buyer and the customer journey together. Not only marketing and sales, but including, for example, also customer service, including, for example, also the finance department. Because what is the definition of a good customer? It's the one that pays his bills also. That's the definition of a good customer. So, and if you do an exercise where you map out and where you explain to each other, guys and girls, this is what our customers is doing throughout the buying process. This is what he or she is doing when he is or she is an actual customer. And what are we realizing or not as a kind of positive emotions or negative emotions, and how can we work together afterwards? The insights that you bring up by doing these kind of exercises is really great. And if you include the team leaders of the different stakeholders, so marketing, sales, etc. Yeah, what we experienced in the past is that they start looking at each other. So, okay, I think we need to work together, guys, because this is a major opportunity to do more business, for example, to have more loyal customers and things like that. Yeah. So this is not a difficult exercise. It just mapping out what a customer today, 22, is doing to become customer with your company.
All right, so you have indeed a better definition of each one's responsibilities, just coming together and, try to map the customer journey and see how you can work there together. But that's, I suppose, more for the people that, are managing a team. I mean, of course, it depends what's the size of the organization, but I can imagine that if you are in a big corporate, a big enterprise, and you have, large teams working in marketing, large teams working in sales, it's maybe hard to bring everyone together. And so from that moment on, it will be most probably the managers having that kind of brainstorm together. But how can they then also, have the whole team keep that same vision and same aligned vision, I should say.
No. I don't think it's the responsibility, big teams, small teams. I don't think it's a responsibility of the team leaders to do that exercise. They have a certain knowledge, I agree, but the real knowledge is in the heads and the minds of those who are doing it every day. So I think the information, the valuable information, for example, of somebody working from 9 to 5 in customer service is probably more inspiring and interesting to hear than the information of a team leader.
I agree.
And I don't say that the team leader doesn't have good information, but it's not that practical and not that, how we call it, realistic, let me call it that way, and based on what customers really say, giving as a kind of feedback. So I would encourage companies indeed to do it at, and I don't want to be negative, to do it at the lowest level possible in the organization, but that's there where the real information is.
Yeah, that's at the end, that's where the contact with the customer is happening.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great point. Great point. Yeah. All right, so let's maybe just talk a little bit more about you, Kurt, because we deep dived immediately towards, inside the marketing and sales alignment story.
Yeah.
But, let's talk about your history. Maybe can you tell us a little bit more about, what you studied and what you did immediately after you studied?
Yeah. A good one. I've done a master in communication sciences from 91 to 96, and it was 1991. Just to be sure that we understand each other. At the Free University of Brussels, it was really an incredible time because I had so much fun.
Yeah, what were you? How were you when you look at your ambitions and what you could do with your life? Were you the one that would like to travel around the world while having a job, or do you want to be the CEO eventually? Or
I had no clue. I had a really good clue what I wanted to study. So I think it was already in the 5th year that I said, okay, communication science is something that is really that is touching me in a kind of way. So I would love to do that. So I started.
Why was that? Because
I don't know. It touched a little bit everything: media, politics, sociology, and things like that. So kind of broad, without fixing. If you study for being a doctor, you're going to be a doctor. That's not the case when you study communication sciences. And one of the major. Sorry.
Why did you make the switch to sales? Why did you then choose sales in the end?
It's a good one. I was. I think it was in my last year. It was in my last year indeed. And by the way, I doubled my first year because I had so much fun the first year that I decided to do it twice. No, that's a joke. But I did it twice. Yeah, indeed. What was really it was the end of my 4th year, yes, that I started looking at some ads in the newspaper, because back in 1996, it's quite some time ago, there was no internet, there was no things like let me look for some jobs. So it was in a newspaper. There was a company called Infotrade that was looking for a telesales rep.
Oh yeah, that's Dun & Bradstreet now. Is it that?
Indeed, absolutely. That's Dun & Bradstreet.
Okay, that's funny because when I went on your LinkedIn, I saw Dun & Bradstreet and I was immediately thinking of the online database of all the companies. But now I'm realizing that in 1996, that was probably when the internet started to come up. So it wasn't probably that you were selling back then.
No, Infotrade was selling financial information, like Trends is doing today, for example, and still Dun & Bradstreet is doing, and great online companies like that. But it was also selling direct marketing information. So if you need for example, plumbers in Belgium to send a mailing, you could rent them or buy them at Infotrade. But just to come back to that decision. They asked for somebody who was, if I'm not wrong, 25 plus and with experience. I wasn't 25 and I had no experience. But I said, the job description is really triggering me, so I'm going to send my CV. So and I did that. And to my surprise, I was invited. So,
Awesome.
okay, little bit nervous to go to Groot Bijgaarden, almost 25 years ago. And the managing director said, okay, let's start the conversation. First question, are you 25? No.
Like that's the most
Do you
important
have
question.
experience? Yeah. Do you have experience? No. What are you doing here? Because in the ad, we said that you needed experience, and you could in the past you could discriminate on age in the past, and you are on 25. And I was a little bit shocking, I guess, on my chair, and I said, "But why did you invite me?" And then the conversation came loose, and we had a very good conversation. And 2 months later, I started with working at Infotrade as a telesales rep.
So I think we missed some part of the story there, because first he said you better leave the place because you don't qualify the ad, and then you just said, why did you invite me? And then it was all fine.
It was just to test me. Is this guy? Is he stress? Can he handle stress? Yeah, is he stress resistant? And we had a conversation, of course, of an hour. But the fact that he tried to do that in that way, that's something that I will never forget, of course.
I can imagine, especially when it's your first job. Is that
Absolutely.
a technique that you took over for your own?
No, not at all. No. So telesales was my very first, let me call it, experience with sales, and for me, it was a very, very good school. Being a telesales is doing sales with some handicaps, because you can influence a conversation with your words. You can influence a conversation with the intonation that you use, with the way you're pronouncing your sentences and words. But you don't have the body language part. You cannot see what your counterpart is reacting on what you're saying. So it was a very, very good school, a little bit the American way. Just to give an example, Monday morning, 7:30, it was video training. So
video training?
Video training. So you better went to sleep quite early Sunday evening, because otherwise it was really a tough Monday morning.
All right.
But in the end, it was tough. It was very disciplined, etc. But I learned a lot of doing.
Can imagine. Yeah. And then 3 years later, you moved to Vangaal.
Yeah, indeed.
How was
Waste
your experience there?
Business. It was a whole other business. You can imagine, from data, clean data to waste. And I've worked there for almost 14 years in different roles, different commercial roles. It was really a ride. It was an experience, because at that time we're speaking about the end of the 90s, beginning of the year 2000, where everything linked to waste became really a topic in society. It was about sorting waste and things like that. Stop using incinerators and things like that. So the relevancy on societal level was really picking up, and it's still the case today. Absolutely.
Did you feel the impact of that on the business?
Absolutely.
I suppose you did.
In fact, the legal framework was driving the business. Because on the first hand, you had some taxes going up, pushing people to sort more waste, for example. On the other hand, recycling was booming, where a waste stream, for example, became something that was really interesting to sort that: paper, cardboard, metal, and things like that, which was probably in the past not really the case.
Because can you tell me, what was it exactly that you were selling then? Was it the service, or was it more the product to make it happen? Okay.
It was the service, collecting waste of different types of companies. And even going to the fact that for certain companies, big producers of waste, that we outsource people. We explain to a company, your core business, for example, is producing, I don't know what, products or whatever. Our core business is managing your waste problem. So we even outsource people. So it was a kind of solution selling, conceptual selling.
Right.
That the early days of that.
Very
Well, really
interesting.
helped.
And also, like, it seems like two different environments that you had to work in, of course. But now let's jump to your newest adventure. That you said 6 months ago, you decided to start your own thing. And I think like a lot of people have experienced that at the beginning of Corona, they'll think like, is what I'm doing right now really what I want to do? Was that also the case with you, which is new adventure you're on? Did it have did it have like an impact on you deciding to go your own way with Marquis?
In fact, not at all. I didn't have really in mind the Corona thing when I decided to found Marquis together with Hans. Not at all. Maybe on the contrary, because what we're telling, and that's what I explained in the beginning, is that there is an opportunity today because the expectations of consumers are going up. So there is an opportunity today to be even more aligned between marketing, sales, and customer service, etc., to transform your business. So it strengthened us to jump into this adventure.
Can you give us a concrete example of customers expecting more and the business that needs to align with that?
Just take one example. Corona arrived in March 2020. Imagine that you are a customer that had never really the experience of buying online. And then all of a sudden, you were almost pushed to acquire online, even for your basic food, for example. When I see here in the village, our bakery, for example, decided to move, I don't know, I think it was within 20 days, completely online. And then I said, but this is great. And I saw a lot of companies not doing at all such kind of initiatives. But it forced, I think the pandemic forced a lot of people thinking out of the box from a company perspective, but also from a human being perspective. How am I going to foresee in my basic needs if I don't want to order online? Not easy. So that kind of evolution took place the last couple of years, and reinforcing, for example, the fact that delivery, if I order today something, delivery tomorrow is normal. No questions asked. I don't want it next week. I want it today. So these are things that have a lot of impact on the Belgian SMEs, where a lot of SMEs want to do that transformation and want to offer it, but still have no clue, how do I start with such a thing? I have an offline business going very well, but how do I start to do an online business? Right. How do I combine the both? That's
of both when Marquis comes in.
For example.
Awesome. Earlier, you said something about customer retention being much easier than attracting new customers, and I want to go and deep dive on that statement, because I remember also in college, they always told us that acquiring new customer cost 7 times more than keeping existing ones. But what are strategies that you can implement easily, maybe, to really retain more of your customer, or what should you focus more on? Because you also have now the fancier term for customer service, customer success, and I see that there is also being heavily invested in. Is that also something that you see happening, or do you have other strategies for better customer retention?
I think you have a lot of possibilities that you can leverage on, but what you need to fix in the first place is the basics. And the basics start with what you promise when you acquire new customers. I think it's a common understanding that in the acquisition phase, a lot of companies, I'm not going to say that they exaggerate, but they promise the moon.
They like to overpromise, yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
To
and then
win
when
the sale.
exactly. When you onboard, there is where the magic happens. A real customer, a real loyal customer, will start to being loyal from the onboarding part. So make sure that what you promise in your acquisition phase, that you immediately deliver upon it in your onboarding phase, that you give the customer the experience that you promised. So I think that's it's not an easy one, but it's a really important one. Secondly, that's the moment where a customer will see, is there alignment between the acquisition team and the customer success team, or whatever it's in a name, the customer care team? Is there alignment? Or do I need to explain a lot of things again? Just to give that example. Another thing what is important in customer retention is, and that's the reason why I said in the very beginning, map out your customer journey also next to your buyer journey, because in a lot of companies, the times that I have really contact with a company is when they send me the invoice.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Yeah, if you don't have an issue, you have no need to contact. But I will never have the opportunity, for example, to buy something new from you. So take me also in a customer journey where you can inspire me, motivate me, etc., to be loyal, to engage, to interact, and to buy more. So that's another example. What is not really, and I'm not going to say that that's not the case on corporate level. I think a lot of corporates try to put these things in place because they saw that indeed, when you have a large customer base, you better try to stick to that customer base instead of spending a lot of money on acquiring new one.
Yeah, definitely. Are you also a big believer of over-delivering every single time?
Oh, I think it's an ambitious. It's ambitious to say that the standard must be over-delivering. I think if your basics are right, and if you try to improve each time some small steps, then that's already a fantastic beginning. So for me, over-delivering is maybe you cannot always over-deliver.
I agree with that. I think it's a hard thing to do. But if I link that to what you said earlier of, having a right expectation management, I think is it maybe then an idea to, promise less, but what you promise should be over the top well, and then maybe add some extra stuff that you could have maybe promised in the beginning, but you didn't, so that you can now over deliver. Is that maybe an idea that could work, or?
Yeah, I think these stay for me theoretical approaches. Because, and why am I saying that? In fact, it's in a lot of cases, people working together with people doing business with other people. I can have a bad day, you can have a bad day, but if I have the ambition to deliver something really awesome, and I'm having a bad day and it doesn't work how I want that it work, will you be mad at me? Do you understand what I mean? It's people trying to do business with people. So let's just be realistic.
Emotions are there.
Yeah,
they are involved, and of course,
absolutely.
It's never going to be streamlined and as you wish. No, of course.
No, absolutely not. No. Because then you're promising the moon again.
Yeah, well, let's not do that, but let's at least do very well what we promise.
Absolutely.
Let's maybe move on to what is for you. I mean, what are your ambitions at the moment? What are you hoping to realize in the coming 5 years? What do you want to be in 5 years? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
We've started 6 months ago, so the journey that we have ahead of us is, I hope, a long one. So we are in a stage where indeed we are discovering what our real path, our real journey is in the upcoming months and years. What is clear for me is that the reason why we started Marquis was a good one, and it is confirmed every day. So there is a lot of things to do in the SME market in Belgium, and probably also in the whole of Europe. So I think I would be very proud within 5 years, for example, to be recognized like a kind of reference when it comes to growing your business in SME, and yeah, that we are really the kind of inspirational company that helps every SME, and not only the good ones or the best or whatever. No, every SME, giving them the necessary frameworks, etc., to move on with their business. I would be very proud to realize that milestone.
Like that. Yeah. And that's within the European market then?
Yeah, we started in Belgium. We are looking with. I'm looking with my partner to see what the opportunities are in Holland today, and of course the north of France, given the fact that we all speak a little bit French in Belgium because we went through school with a second language as French. So why not working, for example, and doing some business in the north of France? Yeah.
And if you talk to the SMEs itself, what do they see as their problem? Because I can assume that when they come to you, they don't come to you with, oh, our problem is sales and marketing alignment. What do they explain as their problem?
In the first place, and that's what I explained, an owner of a company, he has different hats. CEO, he has to be the most innovative one. It's the boss of sales. It's the boss of the HR department, for example. So one of the main reasons is, guys, I don't have all the expertise and the knowledge, for example, to boost my growth. I need help. Or, for example, and that's also a story that we see a lot of times popping up, we are doing the same for the last 15 years, and it has always worked. And since a couple of months, it's not working anymore. What is happening? So they don't know really the answer. And again, then you can, for example, go back to the strategical part. Is your strategy still the right one? What do you think about digital? Do you still want to work the way you always work? Do you want to shift, for example, to do something else? So it starts with the owner, discussing with the owner what he really wants. Also, like you did, Dylan, what is your vision and mission, for example, for the next 3 to 5 years? What do you want to accomplish as a person, but also as a company?
I like that because it also gives you a lot of flexibility or room, I could say, in which you can work and brainstorm and strategize and just do amazing stuff. I like that.
We had a discussion recently with the owner of a company who said, within 3 years, I would love to free up 1 day a week to do something else.
Oh, wow.
To do something else for myself. That's huge. But if you want to set up on growth, for example, and you don't take into account that this is something really important for that person, you're completely messing up. So combining what you personally want to do as an owner of a company and linking that to your business, yeah, that's great, something like that.
Yeah, I can imagine not always as easy though, especially if someone comes with the ambition of freeing him or her for a day in the week. I mean, I guess if you help the company exceed their targets, their sales targets, they will have even more work. So you really have to, because actually that's the thing. It's not only a marketing and sales project. It's more of a general business strategy and implementation solution that you kind of have to develop, right?
And a people one. Because one of the things that you need to put in place is, okay, imagine that it will be 1 day within 3 years, maybe it will be 2 days. Then you have to put in place an organization that is possible of having that as something in your head. You need to make sure that your organization will move on, even when you as a company owner are not there.
Very true. Now, have you ever had any mentors in your 20 to 30 sales career? I'm not quite sure how long it was, but have you ever had any mentors that, helped you to see
Yeah.
sales or maybe business management through another lens?
Yes, I had, and it has been since the very beginning the same. You remember when I started at InfoTrade, that guy that asked me the question if I was 25 and had experience? That same guy is still my mentor.
Really?
We're
wow.
seeing each other every 3 months. We take lunch. I can discuss with him private and professional business, everything. He knows a lot of me. But I really look forward to that kind of discussions with him. So he probably knows more from me than a lot of people that I know in my family.
That's so funny.
But
So you never lost touch.
He's still my mentor.
Yes,
No.
25 years mentor easily. And
Yeah.
all right, so the day that you kind of had to leave the company and had to leave to work for him was kind of a bummer then for him, no?
Yeah, I remember that he explained me afterwards. It's always the same with those people that I recruit coming from university. I train them, I make them strong, and then they leave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Making you feel guilty.
Yeah, that's what he said. I think the first time that I saw him back after leaving InfoTrade. But he's a friend today, mentor, and I think I can recommend this to everybody, sales or not sales. I think that's not important. If you're in business, I think it's really awesome to have somebody that you can talk to openly. Not always. You don't need always answers. Just the opportunity to have some time to reflect, to think about things. And one of his competencies is that he just asks me questions. So he's not giving the answers, of course. But that gives me the opportunity to think about some stuff and then say, okay, yeah, you're right. I should have done it that way or the other way or things like that. Yeah.
I think at the end, most of the times you know the answer already.
Absolutely.
It's just more,
you're right.
just as like you said, you just need to reflect, just come with the answer yourself, even though you had it already in you. And but I agree. I think Martin and I can also confirm that we also have a couple of mentors, and sometimes we have some more direct mentors, people that just speak the truth, others that help to help us reflect more. But I can also confirm that it helps.
Yeah, and you learn things from a mentor also. One of the things that when I said a little bit earlier, video training at 7:30 on Monday morning, I'm not doing that with my people. I've never done that. But the fact, and that's what I learned, is train your people. And I think today, 22, more than ever, skill, reskill, upskill your people, because otherwise you will have an issue. And that's one learning. Young, old, no matter what, invest in training, please.
And now we're talking about mentorship. Are you yourself also a mentor to other people? And do you like being a mentor?
I like to help people. Absolutely. Am I officially mentor of some people? I don't think so. But I have the idea that some of my friends, some of my contacts, for example, in my network, come to me to pitch some ideas or things like that. And it's something that I really like doing. Yeah, helping people.
Let's move on now to the last section, which is more about the future of sales and where we're going with maybe not sales, maybe more marketing and sales, the revenue department in general. What's your vision on the future of the revenue organization? How will this evolve?
If you work together in a company, probably questions will be asked at a certain moment in time. How are we going to organize this? Because, by the way, the fact that you call these podcasts, revenue podcasts, is, I think it's fantastic. Because no, but it's just the opposite of thinking in silos. It's indeed about revenue. Growth, for example, is about working together. You cannot realize growth only as a sales team or only as a marketing team. So what I see today in different organizations on corporate level, but also the bigger SMEs, for example, is that they try to put in place, for example, an organization with a commercial director heading a team. And then you have 3 sub-teams. You have, for example, an acquisition team. But in that acquisition team, you have people like sales reps, marketing people, maybe a little bit further also customer care people. You have a retention team with basically the same kind of people, but with other competencies, because retention is not acquisition. In terms of tools and things like that, strategy. Okay. And you have a third kind of team is a team who is working, for example, on cross-sell, upsell strategies and things like that. So This is a model, I guess, in the future that will pop up, I guess, more and more in the market. Try to organize your team linked on different ambitions that you have. Is it acquisition? Is it retention? Is it cross and upselling? And try to staff it with people having experience in that area.
Yeah, I'm also very curious how this will evolve with indeed the whole revenue department, because I already see, the change within the sales team where you have now the traditional SDR, BDM, then goes to the account executives, and then you have the account management, the account managers, and they talk now about chief revenue officer as the, main commercial person. I think in Belgium we'll still use commercial director as a more current title, but I'm also very curious to find out how they will link marketing and sales, and will there also be kind of a job title of someone that will just be in charge of the alignment. I think there exists already something such as revenue operations, which is kind of, trying to combine the data that comes from marketing to sales, but will there be something else, or is that the purpose of the commercial director? Do you have maybe some idea or some point of view on that?
Yeah, commercial effectiveness is maybe an interesting combination of words to think about, because it's how can you improve effectiveness of for example, your growth strategy or your revenue strategy. One of the major ingredients, and that's maybe the reason why corporate is a little bit evolving a little bit faster than the SME market, is data. Working together is one thing. Working together based on metrics, based on good, valuable insights and data is really fun to do, because then you're really... Yeah, but I think that's in a lot of companies not the case. Okay, we work together, but we're working based on what kind of insights are we working together.
Right.
And maybe in that perspective, commercial effectiveness or sales enablement is another sales enablement team. For example, I think you hear a lot of terminology being used today in commercial teams.
No, definitely. Yeah, I like what you say there about the use of data. Although from own experience, I've seen also data being misused in the sense that, but that's maybe just an alignment issue, but they had, marketing and sales. They wanted to break out the silos, but marketing and sales had different types of KPIs on which they were, being accounted for. And so because of that, even though they had that main KPI that, was the same for marketing and sales, because they had also the other KPIs that were still kind of different, it just didn't work. But that's maybe the more high level alignment that needs to happen first. And then data happens after that.
That's also a learning curve that you need to go through. I remember when we first, it was also in the Sodexo time, when we first tried to put in place a marketing dashboard, so sales and marketing, a marketing dashboard, that the first 2 or 3 versions, we deleted them because it felt not right. We didn't have the necessary insights, actionable insights to move on. So we just started over again because it's an important one. One example is really striking. A lot of companies today, especially corporates one, hesitate to give marketing more responsibility in, for example, managing an existing customer base. It has always been the sales team that managed the customer base, isn't it? It's the key account manager, the account manager, whatever. But you can, for example, if you have B2B customers, 50,000 B2B customers, of which there are 45,000 really SME customers, for example, why not let marketing manage this customer base instead of sales? I think these are questions that probably will be asked more and more in the future, because it is possible to do that in an automated way, that you can manage these large kind of customer bases.
Yeah, I think the question that pops up then in my head is, what is really the purpose of sales? Is it then, I guess when you say that marketing can enter into the game, is because marketing can nurture and help to educate the existing clients, but then sales would be the people, the go-to people if they really want to, make a deal or make something happen and they just need that extra help. Is that how you look at it as well?
Yeah, I think the function of sales probably has to be reinvented because the more time is going forward, the more marketing is gaining power on tools, on data, on insights, etc. So we were 10, 20 years ago the kings and the queens. We need to be very careful that within 5 years there are no sales anymore.
Yeah, that's an interesting debate, honestly. It's definitely something I'm also thinking myself. Will it really disappear? I don't think so, but no. I think it will be more involved into complex sales environments where, it just cannot be automated, or it's not a template, or it needs to be custom made, and then you need to have that one-on-one contact with the salesperson.
We used to say that everybody in the company is a sales buddy, but I think more and more sales also need to be more up to speed when it comes to the role of marketing. How do you generate leads, for example? How do these are things that a lot of salespeople, they're even not interested in these kind of things. And that's a pity, because it's a real opportunity to work together and to grow your business together.
Yeah, you make a very strong point. Marketeers are salespeople, but salespeople are also marketeers. And
Absolutely.
Of course, you're more focused on the one than the other, but you still have to have knowledge of both responsibilities.
Absolutely.
What's your
in the social selling times where everybody has his LinkedIn profile, generating leads? Indeed, it's more important.
Maybe something that we didn't cover about marketing and sales alignment is the account-based marketing approach. Is that what are you are you a big fan of that, or?
I think it's what people are asking more and more, is having personalized content to try to, between brackets, convince you to buy products or services. So I think it's the way to go if you want to do business in the future. I've done some training lately, some sales training for some companies, and if you're explaining, for example, to a sales rep that the good old times of drinking a coffee and doing 50 kilometers to do so without real purpose, I don't think that will exist. It will exist anymore in the future. Save that energy, use that money, for example, to work together and to personalize an offer or a campaign together with your marketing colleagues to make sure that you can link, for example, a bottle of champagne or a glass of champagne when you're doing business. And then a lot of people, salespeople, are saying, yeah, but within a couple of months, we will do exactly the same what we've already done. Huh? we will do 3 visits a day, for example, and 1 is a coffee at existing customers, and 2 are some prospection. But that won't happen. That won't happen.
Yeah, I'm not
Imagine
quite
that
sure.
you're a sales director. Are you going to allow that your team members, for example, will do, instead of 6 qualitative calls, 3 real life visits? I don't think so.
Especially
I
now,
don't think so
because
too.
everybody's used to working from a distance. Like, hey, you've done it for 2 years, you're not going back to do the old ways, of course.
No.
Yeah, and I think it's even also from the customer side. Also, I mean, of course, it's nice to have to have a little chat or anything, and just spend some time with another person. But I mean, they also see time as something scarce, so they
Absolutely.
also don't just want to waste it like that. I mean, you kind of have to be a friend, otherwise, just have that real quick call, and we'll see if it makes sense. If it makes sense, we continue. Otherwise, see you next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely agree.
All right. Well, Kurt, thank you very much. I think we come to the end of the podcast. We covered
You're welcome.
a lot of interesting topics, going from sales and marketing alignment to, your story with Marquis, and, how you started within sales. We also deep dived into how retention is kind of super important, and, some strategies on how to work on that. Then we also went and discussed on your vision of the future of sales, which actually we looped back to the marketing and sales alignment story, but then maybe more
Yeah.
from an organization point of view. I thought it was a super interesting story. But Kurt, where can
Thank you.
people find you?
Just go to our website, marquis.be.
Marquis.be.
You can fix a coffee moment with Hans or myself if you want to. So,
All right.
thank you very much for having me. It was really fun discussing sales and the future of sales together.
And before we let you go, we have one last question. It's always a question we end on every podcast. The question is, Kurt, if Kurt was a brand, where would it stand for?
It probably would stand for alignment. Working together, align people. I think it would stand for that.
I think this sum up the podcast very well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kurt, for being on the show.
Thank you very much. Speak to you.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.